Hi guys, this is Austin. Well, obviously it's not Austin, but with all jokes aside, atGames is back at it again. As you all may know, atGames was supposed to be behind the new Mega Drive Mini, but Sega, after hearing everybody's whines and complaints, they backed out of it, and now that's being made in-house, and a lot of us are probably going to be happy about that. That's probably where it should be being made by Sega themselves. atGames not going to go down that easy, and they were going to try to keep themselves in the game, and they're coming out with 7 new systems. And I'm left with one question. Why? Let's take a look at those 7 systems, see exactly what they have to offer, and answer the question, why should I even get one? Hi guys, welcome back to another episode of My Tiny Point of View on the We Deem channel. Before we get into the topic of today, I'd like to say don't forget to let me spend my money so you don't waste yours by hitting that subscribe button. Don't forget to hit the bell to keep informed of new videos that I am uploading on the channel. Now, as I said, atGames is back at it again. They're coming out with 7 new consoles that are supposed to release at the end of the year during the holiday season, and I just am not excited. And I don't think anybody else is excited about this. Today, we unfortunately do not have any of those consoles on hand because I am not best friends with atGames like John Hancock is. We all do know he's best friends with atGames. If you want to see those systems in action, you can go check out his channel. Today, we are just going to be looking at the atGames website, looking at 7 of their systems, see what they have to offer, and answer that question, why should you pick one up? Alright guys, here we are on the atGames website, the Blast website to be specific. As you see, small blast, dongle, big, classic, fun. They're little dongles here, as you can see. I mean, don't get me wrong, that's kind of cool to just be able to plug this little thing in the back of your TV, or anybody's TV for that matter. Now that's a little questionable. But as we go down here, as you can see, they're talking about the controller. Of course, most of these games are Atari games, and we're using the Sega Genesis controller, which leads right back to the fact that they were supposed to do the Mega Drive Mini, and that's not happening now, so why not reuse the controller? Either way, in atGames Sega Genesis Flashback HD, the controller was the best thing on that console, so I'm sure this 2.4 gigahertz wireless controller is going to be pretty good. But it's still a Sega Genesis controller playing Atari games. Nonetheless, let's keep on going. The first one, as you can see, is Bandai Namco Flashback. Then you have the Bandai Namco Blast Walmart exclusive, so I guess there's going to be some different games on that one. On here you have the Legends Flashback Blast. Over here you got the Atari Flashback Blast Volume 1, Volume 2, and Volume 3, which is going to be a Walmart exclusive. And the last one, number 7, which is Activision Flashback Blast, which I guess is going to be all your Activision games, obviously. But let's go ahead, let's head in here, let's actually check out some of the games here. Alright, let's take a look at the Bandai Namco Flashback Blast games, and on here you're gonna have Dig Dug, great game, the only boxed Atari game that I own. You have Galaga, Galaxian, Mappy, Pac-Man, Skid Kid, the Tower of Draga. I guess that says Zavirius. I can't even pronounce it, nor can I read. Most likely the X, obviously, is a Z, but nonetheless, most of the games on here, these are very popular Atari or arcade games. Not a bad list. Alright, on to the next one. That's the Bandai Namco Flashback Blast Walmart exclusive. Dig Dug, Galaga, Galaxian, Mappy. So far, the same games. Acmania, Pac-Man, Skid Kid, and Xevious. I think those are all the same games. I was wrong on that last one. There was one game that was different, and that was Pac-Mania and the Tower of Drago. So pretty much the exclusive for Walmart's only getting one game. that's different. But anyway, on to the next one, and that's the Legend Flashback Blast. And on that one, you're getting Burger Time, Burning Rubber, Escape It, Frontline, Jungle Hunt, Lock and Chase, Miss It, Polaris. And we're getting Shield Shifters, Space Invaders, Space Raid, Strip Off, and that's it for that one. So it seems like on that one, instead of getting 8 games, you are getting 12 games. And the next one on the list is Atari Flashback Blast Volume 1. And on that one, we got Centipede, which is a pretty good game, a really known game on the Atari. 3D tic-tac-toe, air-sea battle, bowling, Desert Falcon, Dodge 'em, Fatal Run, golf. Got Human Cannonball, Millipede, which is the sequel to Centipede, Miniature Golf, Radar Lock, Save Mary, Sprint Masters, Sword Quest, Earth World, Sword Quest, Fire World. We got Sword Quest, Water World, Tempest, which is a pretty good game. You got Yaris Revenge, Yaris Returns. So far, I don't see any hero on there. Alright, and your next one is your Atari Flashback Blast Volume 2. And on there you have Adventure, Adventure 2, Asteroids, which is a known Atari game, a very popular Atari game and arcade game. You got Atari Video Cube. You got Championship Soccer, Crystal Castle, Double Dunk, Gravatar, Haunted House I've heard of before, Maze Craze I've heard of that before, I've never played it, Missile Command, I've heard of that one as well, Off the Wall, Real Sport Basketball, Real Sport Tennis, Secret Quest, and Skydiver. You also got Submarine Commander, Surround, Video Chess, Video Pinball. The second to last one in the 7 consoles coming from atGames is a Walmart exclusive, and it is the only one that has an Atari controller. It is the, I guess they call them the paddle controllers. I never used them. They had the twist controls. So Volume 3, exclusive to Walmart, has Backgammon, Blackjack, Breakout, Cannon Bomber, Circus Atari, Demons to Diamonds, Night Diver, Steeplechase. We got Street Racer, Stunt Cycle, Super Breakout, and Video Olympic Basketball. We got Video Olympic Foosball, Video Olympic Handball, Video Olympic Hockey, Video Olympic Pong. Wow, more! Video Olympic Quadrapong, Video Olympic Super Pong, Video Olympic Volleyball, and Warlords. I'm sure the Video Olympic is finally done. And the last one in the series, and that is Activision Flashback Blast. And on there you have Atlantis, Beam Rider, Chopper Command, Cosmic Commuter, Crackpots, Decathlon, Dragster, Enduro, Fishing Derby, Freeway, Frostbite. Oh, and there goes Hero. I was wondering if they were going to put that on there. I swear if they didn't put that on any of these consoles, it would have all been garbage. Keystone Capers, Magamania, Pitfall, Pressure Cooker, River Raid, Sequest, Stampede, Star Master, and that is the last one. And that is all of the 7 consoles from atGames called Blast. Alright, now there are the 7 atGames Blast consoles. Now the concept is kind of cool. A small little dongle you hook into the back of your TV. You can take it on the go, take it to a hotel, take it to a friend's house, and just play some of your favorite retro games from the Atari era. Before you go out and buy one of those atGames Blast consoles, I'd like to show you 2 options that I personally think you should check out first. The first option is something that I've talked about on my channel before, and I think is still relevant to today, and that is Yes, guys, the RetroBit Super Retrocade. Now that console only cost you $70, which is not a bad price, and it does so much more than those atGames Flashback consoles do. And if you're someone who might consider going out and buying all 7 consoles at a $20 price point, that's going to cost you about $140, which is double what the Super Retrocade costs. Now, the Super Retrocade comes packed with 90 games pre-loaded, but it does so much more. It plays NES games, it plays Super Nintendo games, Genesis, Game Boy. It also plays arcade, which is what it was meant for. But unfortunately, it does not play Atari games natively. But most of your Atari games, and a decent amount of the Atari games that are on the Flashback Blast, were arcade ports. Now, with the Super Retrocade, all you have to do is dump your ROMs onto an SD card, plug the SD card into the back of the system, and you're up and running. Playing some of your favorite retro games on one small portable console. Now, yes, this device does not plug into the back of your TV as like the dongle does, but it does hook up via HDMI. It's still portable and you still can travel with it. Now, some of the games that I played on it that are directly related to some of the games that are on the atGames Blast was Centipede, which played really well, Millipede, which also played really well with a arcade stick nonetheless. Also played Dig Dug, which I had issues here and there. It's also the only game that I have boxed for the Atari 2600. But for the most part, it played really well. It played better with a controller than the arcade stick. It seemed to get stuck a little at times with the arcade stick. I also played Pac-Man, which played really well with the arcade stick, which is not something that is on the atGames Blast. You have that Sega Genesis controller. Now, it is only Bluetooth. There is no USB, so you can't play with different controllers. You're stuck pretty much with their Sega Genesis wireless controller. I also played other games that were in different packs, like the Midway pack and the Namco pack. I played Tempest, which is a very good game. This actually was the first time I ever played Tempest ever, was on the Super Retrocade, and honestly, it was amazing. Now, the Super Retrocade plays all those games fairly well. I'm not going to go into every game that's on the Super Retrocade that was on the atGames Blast, but if you have any question as to what game you saw on the atGames Blast that you want to see on the Retrocade, please leave those questions in the comments down below and I'll get right back to you. Now, your second option I want to talk about is the Raspberry Pi Zero, or Raspberry Pi 3 for that matter. Now, the Raspberry Pi Zero, as you can see, is this small single board computer that can do a ton, and it does retro gaming really well. Emulation on this is amazing, especially for something this small. Who knew we would get to this point? But either way, this is the Raspberry Pi Zero. Now, you're going to have to get a kit with this. There was a time where you can just buy this little guy for $5. That is kind of hard to come by now. I bought a kit, I think, for about $30 or $40, and it came with everything you need to hook this up to your TV. It has little ports on the side here. There's a micro USBs. You're going to need a micro USB to full USB port adapter that will come in the kit if you want to use a USB controller. It does do Bluetooth. It also comes with a micro HDMI, so you're going to want that micro HDMI to full HDMI adapter. Once you get all that connected, it will also come with a case. And if you're saying, well, that's not as cool as having that little dongle that hooks right into your TV, it's already ready to go. There are some tutorials on the internet, and if you're someone who likes to tinker around like I do, you can turn this into an HDMI dongle. It plays a lot of different retro systems. Now, this one specifically is probably not going to play PlayStation. If you're looking for that, it just simply isn't powerful enough. You can upgrade to a Raspberry Pi 3, but that's going to cost you a little more. You're going to want to buy a case, you're going to have to buy an adapter, you're going to have to buy an SD card, and that'll probably run you about $70-$80 depending on which ones you get. I'll leave links to all the stuff in this video in the description down below. You can go check those out, but $70-$80 is still cheaper than trying to buy all those atGames Blast consoles just to play a couple of Atari games when you can get one of this. I did not just say you could get one of this, you dumb mother. And play Game Boy, Game Boy Advance, Game Boy Color, Sega Genesis, Super Nintendo, Atari, and much, much more. I went ahead and played some gameplay on this. 3 games that were related to the games that are on the atGames Blast, as always, just like I said about the Retrocade. If you're interested to know which games you can get on this, which is probably every single game that's on the Blast, do ask them in the comments down below. I'll let you know if they're on the Raspberry Pi Zero and how they play. I played Hero, which is one of the better games that is on the atGames Blast, and honestly, this was the first time I ever played it. And yeah, there were some quirks here and there, but for the most part, the Raspberry Pi Zero and the Raspberry Pi 3 did a pretty good job of that game. And if you haven't played Hero, go ahead. It may be really simple, but it's actually kind of addicting. Next game that I played on here, of course, was Centipede. That is one of the games on the atGames Blast. I believe it's on one of the arcade Flashback Blast. And that game, of course, played flawlessly as well. Audio was alright. There was no choppiness. The Pi did a really good job of playing that. And the next game I played, of course, a game that everybody's going to look forward to, and that was Pac-Man. The Pi did really well playing Pac-Man with a third-party controller, the Easy SMX controller, which I'll leave a link to that in the description down below. It's a fairly nice, cheap controller. You probably get it cheaper than I did when I first bought it, but well worth it if you're looking for a cheap controller. But if you're looking for a top-of-the-line controller, personally, I would go with the GameSir 3GS. Either way, I also played Dig Dug on the Raspberry Pi, and that did really good as well. Gameplay was flawless. It's on here. It's on the Flashback Blast. I also went ahead and played Pitfall, which I could not find on the Super Retrocade. So if you're looking to play that, the Raspberry Pi Zero is probably your better option. Those are the 2 different options I have to offer. Those are the 2 different options that will not cause me to buy the atGames Blast Flashback. But if you're someone who just simply does not like tinkering around, someone who just wants to go to the store, buy a console, plug it into your TV, and it works straight out the box, and you're just looking to play simple Atari games, by all means, the atGames Flashback might be an option for you. Now, for the most part, atGames has done pretty good at Atari games, and I think also Intellivision games. These HDMI dongles might be the option for you. If you're just looking to play Hero, you can go for the Activision Flashback HD, and it's only going to cost you $20. You plug it into your TV, the controller will work right out the box. That's an option for you. But if you're someone who's just looking for more, if you're someone who's just looking for better, I personally would check out the Super Retrocade and the Raspberry Pi, and as I said, those links will be in the description down below. If you have any questions about anything that was discussed in this video, please, as always, leave them in the comments down below, and I will get back to you as soon as possible. If you're gonna go get one of these atGames Blast, or you just want to complain about atGames, that is definitely okay in the comments down below. If you liked what was contained in this video, please hit that thumbs up. Please consider sharing amongst your friends and the rest of your social media. And as always, don't forget to let me spend my money so you don't waste yours by hitting that subscribe button.